All right, we got the 2024 Ranger Raptor in here today. We're going to be installing our micros, mids, and mud flaps on the vehicle here. We also got a rear sensor bracket that we'll do here in a minute. But this truck is awesome. It's got a ton of different mounting points up here, so the installation is super simple, no drilling. We're going to start with the micros today. Quick way to identify which side is front and rear. The rear has a little bit more of an the front has a little bit more of an elongated section down here where the rear is a bit more blunted. So we're gonna start with the front section here. Again, the Ark logo always faces the rear. This goes behind the wheel, and we just need to take off a couple of the rivets here and then 8.5 rivets throughout. So we've already got a lot of the rivets already out of here just because there's so many of them. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take this last one out. You're gonna need a rivet puller for these. So you just come in here and just pop these things off. And then with the micro, we're gonna come in here again. The long section is the front. Logo facing rear. You can see how this thing lines up. So what we're gonna do is start at the top. We've got an 8.5 rivet. We're just gonna put it into that hole there. If I can keep it in my hand, that'd be awesome. We're gonna go ahead and put that in there like that. Secure it, and you can see how this thing still kind of moves a little bit there to give you a little bit more of adjustability depending on the offset. And just like that, all the holes line up. So then you take the supplied rivets that we're going to send with the kit, and you just go down the line here. Got some adjustability here. Again, you're going to want this thing to line up with the tire or a little bit further out, however you prefer it. Last rivet. Okay, and there you go. That is the front micro on the 2024 Ranger Raptor. We're gonna go ahead and move towards the rear and do the rear installation. On these particular micros, the sequence of events for the front on the passenger side is the same as the driver. So just follow this same sequence on the front, you're good to go. We'll move to the rear. All right, so now we're on the rear of the 2024 Plus Ranger Raptor. We're gonna be installing the rear micros. Again, the rear has this more blunted shape on the micro itself, where the front is a little bit longer. Again, the logo always faces towards the rear, and we're just gonna mount them up to the holes that are on the fender. Again, we've already got all the OEM rivets off of this thing, just for the purposes of the video. But again, this is super easy. You just take the 8.5 rivets, start at the top, put it in, and then you can see how these holes automatically line up. You got some adjustability here depending on the offset. If you want it to be out a little further, pull it all the way out. And then just go down the line here and install the rivets. And that's it. The sequence for the rear micro is the same on the passenger side and the driver's side. Like we just installed the driver's side here. So got a total of 6 rivets here. Take the OEM rivets out, put the new supplied Ark rivets in there, and you are good to go. We'll move on to the mids and mud flaps here in a minute. All right, so now we're gonna install the mids and the mud flaps on the 2024 Ranger Raptor. Very similar to the micros. This thing is super simple. They're kind enough to give us a ton of mounting points in here. It's one style rivet throughout the entirety of the installation. And the installation for the mids and the full size is the same on both sides, and then we'll go through the front here in a minute. So a quick way to identify which side is which, or which mud flap goes where. This is the rear, and you can see it's got a very straight edge here that goes back here to protect the underside of the bumper. And then on the front, you've got this little bend here, which goes into the crash bracket on the front side, which we'll get into in a minute. So let's start with the rear mid, right? Logo always faces towards the rear, so we're gonna go right in here just like that. So this thing, you need to take out all the rivets here. We've already got all the rivets out. There's quite a few of them, so a rivet puller or a flathead screwdriver will do the trick. So what you're gonna do is take an 8.5 rivet that we supply. We're gonna start at the very top. Go ahead and put that in, and it's secured. It should line up all the holes. There's some adjustability here depending on the offset of your tire. You want it to stick out a little more, you can pull it out. You want them to nest in a little bit closer to the fender, you can push them all the way in. So we're just gonna go down the line here and just start popping these rivets in. Quite a few of them, like I said before. Thank you, Ford, for making it easy on us. And then you've got one back here on the inside. It's already lined up. Let's make sure everything looks good. It does. Last rivet. Done. All right, so that is the mid-mud flap installed on the 24 Ranger Raptor. Again, the sequence on the passenger side and the driver side is the same. Just follow that same sequence of events. Take the OEM rivets out, put the new ones in, and no drilling, easy installation, done. All right, so now we're on the front end of the 2024 Plus Ranger Raptor, and we're gonna be installing the mid mud flaps. Again, the installation process for the mids and the full size is the same. Quick way to identify the front micro, or the front mid or front full mud flap is you've got this little groove line here and this little piece that goes into the crash bracket back here. Now, a little bit of feedback is if you've got oversized tires and this thing's rubbing already on your crash bracket and you've actually removed your crash bracket, you can go ahead and just trim this piece off and or just trim the material however you need to. This is a super soft plastic and it's very easy to just draw a line down it, cut it with a razor knife and pop it off. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and install this thing. So again, Ford did a really nice job at giving us a ton of mounting points up here. So what we're gonna do is just remove the OEM rivets, and we're gonna replace these OEM rivets with our supplied 8.5 rivets. Again, we've already got all the rivets already taken out here, and we're gonna start with the top rivet here. And the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is slide this piece back behind the crash bracket, and that kind of lines everything up. So as soon as you do that, you can see the holes line up, and then you're gonna start at the top. And then you're gonna wanna make sure that the vertical line here of the mud flap lines up vertically with the vehicle or the tire. And you can move this thing in and out. There is some adjustability here depending on the offset of your rims and tires. So feel free to move this thing in and out however you need. We're gonna leave this right here, and we're just gonna go down the line of installing the 8.5 rivets. Like I said, there's quite a few of them. So once these things are in, this thing is not going anywhere. So go down the line here and just keep going. Got 3 more. One back here. And that is it. So that is the install of the front mid mud flap on the 24 Ranger Raptor. Again, the installation process on the mid mud flap and the full length mud flap is the same across the board, front or rear, and then the installation process on the passenger side is the same as the driver's side. Thanks again for your business. If you guys got any questions, please let us know. Take care. All right, so we're back here on the 2024 Plus Ranger Raptor. They have this suspension sensor down here in the front of the rear wheel well. This thing's in a really bad spot. So what we've come up with is a preformed guard that's going to go over this bracket and over the sensor to give it a little protection on the rear and anything that's coming up from below. This thing's going to be really nice to have in areas where you're driving through gravel roads, salt, debris, mud, all the good stuff. This thing will come pre-formed, so you don't have to bend it, and it's super easy to install. You got 2 bolts. You're gonna need an 8mm socket and an 8mm box end wrench here. And what we do is just unscrew these bolts. You're gonna wanna hold on to these bolts here because we're going to reuse them. But what we do is we do supply with some larger fender washers just to make sure that it bites into the plastic appropriately. So let's get this thing off of here. Sorry, impeding on the light. Okay, so we got our bolts over there. All right, so a quick way to identify the driver's side and passenger side. The driver's side is going to have this flat area facing towards the rear, and it's going to line up with these bolts just like that. So the Ark logo is going to be facing down. You've got this flat section facing back towards the rear. So what we're going to want to do is grab our OEM hardware again. We're giving you guys some M5 fender washers. These are stainless washers. And we're going to start at the top. You're going to need to manipulate this thing a little bit just to make sure the holes line up. It's not that challenging. So then you get the OEM nut on the back and just finger tighten it. It's easier to start at the top. Okay, just finger tighten that thing down. There's quite a bit of bolt on that thing, so it takes a minute. So once we got that, we're good to go there. And then you just want to make sure the bottom's lined up. Again, take the OEM bolt, the supplied washer, you're gonna slide that thing through. And this thing just go down here at the bottom. Okay. So nice and finger tight, and then we come through with our socket and wrench again, just to make sure that this thing is nice and tight. So let's start down here at the bottom. There, and then at the top, I'm gonna make sure that that's good and tight as well. So it takes a little kind of manipulating to get back there. Once it's on, you're good to go. There. Okay. And that is the install of the rear strut sensor